Hello friends, welcome to English with Richly. In this video, I'm going to talk about a short story, Old Man at the Bridge by Earnest Hemmingway. An old man with steel-rimmed spectacles and very dusty clothes sat by the side of the road. There was a pontoon bridge across the river, and carts, trucks, and men, women, and children were crossing it. The mule-drawn carts staggered up the steep bank from the bridge, with soldiers helping push against the spokes of the wheels. The trucks ground up and away, heading out of it all, and the peasants plodded along in the ankle-deep dust. But the old man sat there without moving. He was too tired to go any farther. It was my business to crossing the bridge, explore the bridgehead beyond, and find out to what point the enemy had advanced. I did this and returned over the bridge. There were not so many carts now, and very few people on foot, but the old man was still there. "Where do you come from?" I asked. "From San Carlos," he said and smiled. That was his native town, and so it gave him pleasure to mention it, and he smiled. "I was taking care of animals," he explained. "Oh," I said, not quite understanding. "Yes," he said. "I stayed, you see, taking care of animals. I was the last one to leave the town of San Carlos." He did not look like a shepherd nor a herdsman, and I looked at his black dusty clothes and his grey dusty face and his steel-rimmed spectacles and said, "What animals were they?" "Various animals," he said, and shook his head. "I had to leave them." I was watching the bridge and the African-looking country of the Ebro Delta and wondering how long now it would be before we would see the enemy, and listening all the while for the first noises that would signal that ever mysterious event called contact. And the old man still sat there. "What animals were they?" I asked. "There were 3 animals together," he explained. "There were 2 goats and a cat, and then there were 4 pair of pigeons." "And you had to leave them?" I asked. "Yes, because of the artillery. The captain told me to go because of the artillery." "And you have no family?" I asked, watching the far end of the bridge where a few last carts were hurrying down the slope of the bank. "No," he said. "Only 3 animals," I stated. "The cat, of course. A cat can look out for itself, but I cannot think what will become of the others." "What politics have you?" I asked. "I am without politics," he said. "I am 76 years old. I have come 12 kilometers now, and I think now I can go no further." "This is not a good place to stop," I said. "If you can make it, there are trucks up the road where it forks for Tortosa." "I will wait a while," he said, "and then I will go." "Where do the trucks go?" "Towards Barcelona," I told him. "I know no one in that direction," he said, "but thank you very much, thank you again very much." He looked at me very blankly and tiredly, then said, having to share his worry with someone, "The cat will be all right, I'm sure. There's no need to be unquiet about the cat. But the others? Now, what do you think about the others? Why, they will probably come through it, alright? You think so? Why not? I said, watching the far bank where now there were no carts. But what will they do under the artillery when I was told to leave because of the artillery? Did you leave the dove cage unlocked? I asked. Yes. Then they will fly. Yes, certainly they will fly. But the others? It's better not to think about the others, he said. If you are rested, I would go, I urged. Get up and try to walk now. Thank you, he said, and got to his feet, swayed from side to side, and then sat down backward in the dust. I was taking care of animals, he said dully. But no longer to me. I was only taking care of animals. There was nothing to do about him. It was Easter Sunday, and the fascists were advancing towards the Ebro. It was a grey overcast day with a low ceiling, so their plans were not up. That and the fact that cat knows how to look after themselves was all the good luck that old man would never have. Narrative: a first-person narrator who tells a story through careful description, reportage of dialogue, and insightful commentary about the old man. The narrator makes the reader see the old man. His engagement with him suddenly brings the old man into focus. He emerges out of the faceless, voiceless crowd. The narrator's consciousness of the approaching enemy contact is used to create the dynamic tension between the immobility of the old man and the coming destructions of the constantly observes the movement of cars across the bridge while talking. The narrator's conversation allows the old man to have a voice. As he speaks to the scout, we, along with the scout, gradually understand his plight and what the war has done to him. The voiceless victims speak through the old man. Plot: in the middle of the military action, an army scout encounters an old man at the bridge where people are crossing to escape the war zone. The scout engages the old man in conversation, and by the end of it, he realizes the old man is not going to move and will probably die at the bridge. Setting: the place is war zone at a pontoon bridge across the Ebro River during the Spanish Civil War. The time is Easter Sunday in 1938. Characters: the central character is the 76-year-old man, a war refugee who has been uprooted and displaced by the war. The old man is without politics, who was only taking care of his animals, but who has had his world destroyed. He is disoriented, confused, and disconnected. He has retreated into his isolated world, in which he can only cling to his obsessive thoughts about his animals, and is too tired to go any further. He will die at the bridge, another nameless innocent victim of the war. The scout is the narrator who creates the story of the old man at the bridge. Through his telling of the story, he gradually articulates who the old man is and what he represents. The scout at the beginning is the impersonal narrator who sees the old man and decides to engage him in conversation. By asking the old man questions about himself, the scout gradually understands the situations of the old man. At the beginning, he thinks the old man is just resting, so he encourages him to move on. In the course of his conversation, he realizes the old man is disoriented, displaced, and that he will not be able to move on, but that he will likely die at the bridge. The scout, who begins as a detached observer, becomes to painful realization that there was nothing to do about him, and he ends with the bitterly ironic observation about Easter Sunday and the old man's luck, which is no luck. The old man will soon cross the final bridge. Symbols. The three symbolic animals which have a long history of conveying symbolic meaning. The cat lives, the survivor. Pigeons, which become doves in the second mentioning. Birds can fly away from the war. Doves associated with peace, which in this context is ironic. The doves fly away. The gods, the animal who can't escape. Sacrificial animals, scapegoats who are innocent victims. In the course of story, the old man is associated with his god. The others can take care of themselves, but the others, the god, it is better not to think about the others. The old man is a god figure, unable to escape, an innocent victim of the civil war. Easter Sunday, ironic contrast. The day of the celebration of the resurrection will be the day another innocent victim is crucified. The four repetitions of the old man's word, I was taking care of animals. His last repetitions, I was only taking care of animals. I was only taking care of animals, becomes the eloquent symbolic expression of all those voiceless innocent men, women, and children who are the victim of the war. They neither support nor understand. Without politics, only living in their everyday world, taking care of animals which is destroyed by force beyond their ability to comprehend. The title, Old Man at the Bridge, that final bridge between life and death. Why not old man in the ditch or on the roadside? Theme, Old Man at the Bridge demonstrates the power of narrative art. It takes a small ordinary details in a situation and by the art of storytelling transforms into a powerful story about the tragedy of war. The old man becomes a symbol of countless civilian victims of war. Those without politics, the old man is going to die at the bridge, displaced, disoriented, alone. He is not a cat nor a dove, but a god who was only taking care of animals. Old Man at the Bridge by Earnest Hemmingway. This is a wonderful short story which clearly depicts the true destruction caused by war. What is marvelous about the story is it uses an old man and some animals to make us realize where the true destructions of the war lies. Normally in literary compositions regarding war, stories revolve around young people. Very often it is a young soldier corresponding with his lover or family, or a young wife mourning the loss of her love who was a soldier, or its retired soldier returning home only to find that his parent and loved one have already died. But in this short story, Earnest Hemmingway has used an old man and his pets to convey the destruction caused by war in deeper context. Use of an old man in the context of war is truly unique and universal, as it may happen anywhere in the world. On the other hand, this short story brings us the experience of an individual and how war has affected him. It also makes us realize that all people too have similar needs and requirements as any other, and that they too are significant. The story revolves around an old man who was forced to leave his hometown due to war. He didn't have anyone to consider as family in the form of human, but few pets whom he considered as his family. He was so attached to them, where he gave individual attention to each one of them. His whole world centered on them, and his whole existence purely depended on them. In simple terms, he lived because of those animals. But then came the war, and he was asked to leave his hometown because of heavy artillery. The most difficult thing for him was leaving his animals. He was not that worried about his cat because he believed that cat could look after themselves, but he was constantly worried about the other animals. He walked 12 kilometers and stopped just before the bridge, which carried them to other side of the river, which was considered as a safe area. But the old man refused to cross the bridge, claiming to be tired. Crossing the bridge promised to physically unharmed life, but it failed to give psychological happiness to everyone. Those who were with their family crossing because they had hoped to keep their families safe and to live with them, but the old man was deprived of any hope. He lost his hope at the very moment of left his animals. Therefore, we can say that he psychologically and symbolically died at the moment he left his animals. That is because he lost his hope and his whole reason for existence. In this respect, Hemingway defines life as living with your loved one and implies that a man can be considered as living only if he carries hope. The old man constantly mentioned the symbolic death when he says that he is tired. Thus, Hemingway subtly criticizes war and makes us realize that the least destructions that war can cause is destructions of physical property, but the maximum destructions is where people lose their hopes in the situation with the old man. It also shows that even an old man can lose hope due to war. Thanks for watching.